Hello everyone! Welcome to another episode of Bible Q&A. Today, we're going to be discussing the 3 things that make a good pastor. Being a pastor is a huge responsibility. You have to preach the word, guide people's spiritual lives, and keep wicked influences from harming the church. Therefore, not just any random person can become a pastor. Just like at many other jobs, there are skills and prerequisites that someone must have before he becomes a pastor. And today, we'll talk about just 3 of them. Number 1. Good pastors study the scriptures diligently. For a pastor to be able to lead God's children properly, he has to understand the scriptures and their message in detail so that he can feed his flocks with spiritual bread that will satisfy them. As Peter said, "Feed the flock of God which is among you, taking the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not for filthy lucre, but of a ready mind, neither as being lords over God's heritage, but being examples to the flock." 1 Peter chapter 5 verses 2 to 3. We can also look at Acts chapter 20 verse 28. For example, God advised Joshua, the leader of Israel, to meditate and understand his laws in Joshua chapter 1 verse 8, and Paul advised Timothy to preach sound doctrine to his followers in 2 Timothy chapter 4 verses 1 to 2 and 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 13. With proper knowledge of the Bible, pastors can have a better understanding of how to lead the church, deal with problems, and know the mind of God in any situation, as the apostles did in Acts chapter 6 verses 1 to 4. Number 2. Good pastors have the interests of the flock at heart. Many people view preaching as a business. They see preaching and tithing as a way to make an easy living, and so they form congregations and preach whatever they can to create that environment for themselves. However, God doesn't like people exploiting the flock, according to Ezekiel chapter 34 verses 1 to 6. So to solve this problem, he said he'd send out pastors who would feed his church and gather people to his fold. As it was said in Jeremiah, "And I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding." Jeremiah chapter 3 verse 15. We can also look at Isaiah chapter 11 verse 11. These pastors will want to make sacrifices for the flock, as Christ did. He fed his followers in Matthew chapter 14 verses 14 to 21, healed some of them, and ultimately gave his life for his sheep in John chapter 10 verse 11. Most pastors won't bother to do the first 2 with their money, let alone attempt to do the third. Number 3. Speaking of thirds, my third point is that good pastors are called by God. It is easy to find out whether a pastor or church organization was set up or inspired by God or not. We just need to properly and patiently examine their doctrines and history. Plus, those who are called by God can be identified by their selflessness and sincerity. They are defined by the extent to which they go to properly interpret biblical texts. The apostles, for example, did not preach from their heads. Instead, they correctly explained statements from the Old Testament. As it was said in Acts, "Having therefore obtained help of God, I continue on to this day, witnessing both to small and great, saying none other things than those which the prophets and Moses did say should come, that Christ should suffer, and that he should be the first that should rise from the dead, and should show light unto the people, and to the Gentiles." Acts chapter 26 verses 22 to 23. If the gospel was a lie, there was no way the apostles would face persecution and death to spread it. Because of this, God used the Holy Spirit to help them understand the Old Testament in new ways, and this new knowledge inspired them to continue preaching in new ways, creating a cycle. While many people at that time were preaching lies, according to Jeremiah chapter 23 verses 14 and 21, only to eventually fade out, the apostles used their inspiration to preach what would become the world's largest religion, according to Acts chapter 2 verses 1 to 5. And that is where I'm going to stop with this Bible Q&A. The 3 things that make a good pastor are diligent Bible study, care for the flock, and the call of God. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe.